All right. We'll try to have faith. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopi Janavallabha Girivardhari. Jai Gopi Janavallabha Girivardhari. Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana. Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana. Yamunatira Vanachari. Yamunatira Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jai Mr. Pad Paramahansa, Bhagavad-gita Ashtotar to the Sri Srimad Divine Grace, Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada ki Jai. ISKCON BBT founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa, Bhagavad-gita Ashtotar to the Sri Srimad Divine Grace, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnavina ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur ki Jai. Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki Jai. Samaveda Bhaktivinoda ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Guru and Gauranga. Are we near the top of page 379? Second paragraph? Oh, okay. 379. 379. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. On this 7th day of January 2020 in SanDiego, a reading from Srimad Bhagavad Gita, translation and commentary by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. And we are finishing text 2 of chapter 9, entitled The Most Confidential Knowledge. We'll read the verse one more time on page 375, and then we'll skip to 379, second paragraph. Radya Vidya Radya Guhyam Pavitramidamuttamam Pratyaksavagamam Dharmyam Susukham Kartamavyayam. Radya Vidya Radya Guhyam Pavitramidamuttamam Pratyaksavagamam Dharmyam Susukham Kartamavyayam. Radya Vidya Radya Guhyam Pavitram Idamuttamam Pratyaksavagamam Dharmyam Susukham Kartamavyayam. Rajavidya Rajaguhyam Pavitram idamuttamam Pratyaksavagamam dharmyam Susukham kartamabhyam. Dharma, try it. Rajavidya Rajaguhyam Pavitram idamuttamam Pratyaksavagamam dharmyam Susukham kartamabhyam. Madhavendra. Rajavidya Rajaguhyam Pavitram idam uttamam Pratyaksavagamam dharmyam Susukham kartamabhyam. Question. Rajavidya Rajaguhyam Pavitram idam uttamam Pratyaksavagamam dharmyam Susukham kartamabhyam. Okay. Want to try? Rajavidya Rajaguhyam Pavitram idam uttamam Pratyaksavagamam dharmyam Susukham kartamabhyam. Ace. Rajavidya Rajaguhyam Pavitram idam uttamam Pratyaksavagamam dharmyam Susukham kartamabhyam. Okay, so we'll read the translation. This knowledge is the king of education, the most secret of all secrets. It is the purest knowledge, and because it gives direct perception of the self by realization, it is the perfection of religion. It is everlasting, and it is joyfully performed. Okay. I'm going to read the first verse, because he's talking about this knowledge, and he's referring back to the first verse. The Supreme Personality of God has said, my dear Arjun, because you are never envious of me, I shall impart to you this most confidential knowledge and realization, knowing which you shall be relieved of the miseries of material existence. Okay, and now skipping to 379. Srila Prabhupada has gone through each point in this verse, each word, and now he's near the end with Susukham. Susukham is very happily and easily performed. The process of devotional service, you know where we are, near the top of 379, second paragraph. All right, I'm just going to read the translation again because I forgot to turn this on. This knowledge is the king of education, the most secret of all secrets. It is the purest knowledge, and because it gives direct perception of the self by realization, it is the perfection of religion. It is everlasting, and it is joyfully performed. The process of devotional service is a very happy one, Susukham. Why? Devotional service consists of Shravanam Kirtanam Vishnu. So one can simply hear the chanting of the glories of the Lord, or can attend philosophical lectures on transcendental knowledge given by authorized acharyas. Simply by sitting, one can learn. Then one can eat the remnants of the food offered to God, nice palatable dishes. In every state, devotional service is joyful. One can execute devotional service even in the most poverty-stricken condition. The Lord says later in this chapter, Patram pushpam palam toyam. He is ready to accept from the devotee any kind of offering, never mind what, even a leaf, a flower, a bit of fruit, or a little water, which are all available in every part of the world, can be offered by any person, regardless of social position, and will be accepted if offered with love. There are many instances in history. Simply by tasting the tulsi leaves offered to the lotus feet of the Lord, great sages like Sanat Kumara became great devotees. Therefore, the devotional process is very nice, and it can be executed in a happy mood. God accepts only the love with which things are offered to Him. It is said here that this devotional service is eternally existing. That's the last word in the verse, Abhyayam. It is not as the Mayavadi philosophers claim, although they sometimes take to so-called devotional service, their idea is that as long as they are not liberated, they will continue their devotional service. But at the end, when they become liberated, they will, quote, become one with God. Such temporary time-serving devotional service is not accepted as pure devotional service. Actual devotional service continues even after liberation. When the devotee goes to the spiritual planet in the kingdom of God, he is also engaged there in serving the Supreme Lord. He does not try to become one with the Supreme Lord. As will be seen in the Bhagavad Gita, actual devotional service begins after liberation. After one is liberated, when one is situated in the Brahman position, Brahma Bhuta, one's devotional service begins. Samak sarveshu bhuteshu mad bhaktim labate param. No one can understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead by executing Karma Yoga, Jnana Yoga, Ashtanga Yoga, or any other yoga independently. By these yogic methods, one may make a little progress toward Bhakti Yoga, but without coming to the stage of devotional service, one cannot understand what is the Personality of Godhead. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, it is also confirmed that when one becomes purified by executing the process of devotional service, especially by hearing Srimad Bhagavatam or Bhagavad Gita from realized souls, then he can understand the science of Krishna or the science of God. Evam prasanna manaso Bhagavad Bhakti Yogataha. When one's heart is cleared of all nonsense, then one can understand what God is. Thus the process of devotional service of Krishna consciousness is the king of all education and the king of all confidential knowledge. It is the purest form of religion, and it can be executed joyfully without difficulty. Therefore, one should adopt it. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshu Unmilitam Mena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkness of ignorance. My spiritual master Srila Prabhupada opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my humble obeisance unto him and all members of Sri Parampara, the disciplic succession. So we've come to the end of this classic purport, which is part of the introduction to the chapter, called The Most Confidential Knowledge. And the secret is out, even though it's confidential. The secret is, Man manabhava mad bhakto. Krishna says at the end of this chapter, the secret is, think of me, Krishna says, become my devotee, bow down to me, offer your worship to me, and surely you will come to me because you'll be always connected to me. So, and yet, why is it still said to be confidential? Because those whose minds are controlled by the modes of nature, who are bewildered, even though they may hear it, even though they may read it, even though they may come in contact, it doesn't penetrate the heart. There's too many barriers. It doesn't compute with what they think they know. You know, Maya is such that she convinces you that sense gratification is the goal of life. You may even come to the firm conclusion that there's no God in control. There's no real ultimate source of anything, or if there is, it's certainly not personal or conscious. All these ideas become fixated, and the result is that let's just try to enjoy. In other words, if there's no life after death, there's no life before birth, there's no God in control, there's no absolute morality, then we're in control. We can set our own rules. And that's the modern philosophy, isn't it? That's the hedonistic, existential, whatever you want to call it. It's a very dangerous philosophy because you lose your bearings. There's no ultimate standard by which to measure your activities, no standard of morality. That's why I love the end of the 16th chapter, which the 16th chapter is the divine and demoniac natures. The first 4 or 5 verses, Krishna gives a whole list of divine qualities. And then he says, now I'm going to tell you about the demoniac qualities. Don't worry, Arjun, you're full of the divine qualities. And then he goes on, and the chapter is very striking. I mean, I remember when I first read the chapter, I said, oh, I can relate to this chapter. This is more or less where I'm at. This is where you're describing me. Or at least tendencies that I had before I started doing yoga and everything. So the end of the chapter, he kind of wraps it all up. And he speaks to this idea of needing a pramana. Pramana is a source of knowledge, by which you can feel you're confident in being guided in your life. What is right and what is wrong to do. So he just got through 4 verses before the end of the chapter, speaking about the asuric nature and what their fate is. Because I send them down further and further into lower in species, and these forevermore they can never reach me. Of course, eventually, everyone comes up, even from the worst situation, again to the human form of life. But it may be, who knows, thousands and million years, to come through all the species again. This is described very graphically in the end of the third canto. Anyone who's read the teachings of Kapila Dev, description of adverse fruitive activities, it's pretty hair-raising. So what does Krishna say? He says, all right, I've just described the hellish punishment that the demons receive for being very vicious and selfish. Ishvaroham hambogi siddhoham balavan sukhi. This is Krishna's imitating the mantra of the demons. I am the master. I am the enjoyer. I am perfect, powerful, and happy. And he goes on describing, I've conquered this enemy, and I'm going to get so much money. I'm going to kill that enemy. These are my plans, And I'll pretend to be religious. I'll go forms of sacrifice and name so that people think I'm, That's part of the demonic quality, damba. Damba means bluffing. It means hypocrisy. Lying all the time. That's damba. So then he winds it up and he says, okay, Trivadam narakassedam dwaram nashanam atmana kama krodha tata lobhas tasmarita trayam chajait. There are 3 gates leading to this hell that I just described. What are they? Lust, anger, and greed. Kama, krodha, lobha. Then he says, therefore one should give them up if you want to avoid hellish punishment. And then he describes the benefit. Etava mukta konteya tamo dvarais trubhinaraha acharat yatmanakshayas tato yati param gatim. One who has escaped these 3 gates leading to this hellish punishment, like the gates, dwaram, acts only for his own benefit, for shreya. Now you may recognize this word, it keeps coming up. This was in the verse of where Arjuna surrendered. He asked Krishna, please tell me how I can achieve my shreya. Shreya is good fortune, is everything auspicious in your life, because I don't know. I'm in ignorance now and I need guidance. This is a critical verse in the Gita. So he acts only for his good fortune. Doesn't perform anything that is going to lead him to him or her to degradation. These 3 gates leading to darkness, he's free of those. Acharat yatmanakshayas. Acharati means he acts. Now, you may not notice this word is related to acharya. Achar is your activity, your behavior. So what we actually do is evidence of our consciousness. In other words, you may theoretically know so many things about this yoga, that yoga, whatever, but until you actually do something, it's all very theoretical. This is where the pratyaksha comes in this verse. Pratyaksha-avagamam, the word that we were stumbling over in previous sessions. Pratyaksha-avagamam means understanding avagamam directly, your own experience. You see? So that's what you get by actually acting on the principles that you learn. It's the difference between gyan and vigyan. Gyan is I know all of philosophy. Vigyan means, okay, I'm ready to act on it and actually get the experience of it. So he's saying here that one acts for his own shreya and he goes to the supreme abode, all by escaping these gates and acting properly. Then he goes back. This verse always stuck in my mind. As soon as I read it, I said, this is so important. Yeah, he says, on the other hand, yak shastra vidamutsrija vartate kama karataha nasa siddham avapnoti nasukam naparam gatim. Now, notice the word shastra is in there. Shastra vidi are the injunctions of the scripture. He's introducing this idea. So he says, on the other hand, one who disregards or casts away the instructions of the Shastra and simply acts on his own whim. He takes as a pramana for what to do and what not to do. Does it feel good? Is it going to please me? There's some profit involved? That's not Shastra Vidi. That's your own mind Vidi. You understand? So Yak Shastra Vidam Utsvija, he's rejecting Shastra Vidi. We're practicing Vidhi bhakti or Vaidhi bhakti. Vaidhi means the do's and the don'ts. When you're serious, you start accepting the do's and you're rejecting the don'ts. Even though you may be inclined to do the don'ts, and you may not be inclined to do the don'ts, and you're inclined to not do the do's. Sorry, but you understand. In other words, there's a certain amount of austerity there, but that's what it means to reform yourself, to purify, undertaking or something. But it's minor austerity compared to other things you read about in the Bhagavad. But still, we're so unqualified that it could be a challenge. But that's what it takes. So, but you cast him away. I don't care. And then what do you act on? Vartate kama karataha. You act karata on the basis of your whim, your desire, your material desire. Exactly the opposite of what it means to take shelter of Shastra. Then what happens to such a person? Nasa siddhim avapnoti nasukam na paramgatim. Such a person doesn't get perfection, doesn't get happiness, and certainly does not go to the supreme goal. In other words, you stay here in this world of suffering. So now, the final verse of this chapter is so important. Therefore, tasmat shastra pramanam te karya vyavastito gyatva shastra vidhanoktam. Notice the word vida again, what the shastra prescribes and proscribes. Tasmat shastra vidhanoktam karma karta miharasi. Therefore, you should take as evidence for what to do and what not to, what not to do, the Shastra, the revealed Shastra like Bhagavad Gita, as it is in the Bhagavatam, the books we have. And having understood from the Shastra what it says to do, one should actually act in that way as a matter of duty. In other words, don't just know it, you have to actually do it. As we say, what is it? Learn it, live it, give it. Right? There's three things. So after learning it and then living it, and then feeling the benefits, you should want to give it out because it's such a great benefit. This is the whole Sankirtan movement in 3 words. Learn it, live it, give it. So I thought I'd interject that because we're dealing here with the king of knowledge, right? The whole idea is that this knowledge that we're going to read in the rest of this chapter is all very essential for us. And when we take it in and we try to act on it, and the basic, throughout there are some prescriptions and proscriptions. But the most important is at the end, where he says, think of me, become my devotee, worship me, bow down to me. And how to do that systematically is we learn from those who are in the disciplic succession and books such as Nectar of Devotion, Nectar of Instruction, and so many others. So that's the whole thing is set up here. And Prabhupada has gone through so nicely here. Just to review the different elements, it's the king of knowledge. The king of knowledge means that there are all other kinds of knowledge, and some of them are very exalted. But the knowledge we get from Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam and other books, this is the essence of all of the Vedas. The Vedas are very vast. It's like a big desire tree, right? Nigamakalpatador. We read in the Bhagavatam, 3rd verse. You heard this verse? I always like this verse because Bhagavatam is not only full of knowledge, but it's the most beautiful poetry. And right at the 3rd verse, he's giving you a little feel for that poetry. Well, what does he say? He's saying there that the Bhagavatam is the ripened fruit of the whole tree, of the desire tree of the Vedic knowledge. That desire tree means you can get what you want there. There's the Jyotish Shastra, right? There's a whole part of it that teaches about astrology. There's Dhanar Shastra, which is like the art of war. There's part of that there. There's the Karma Kanda section, where you can learn how to go to the heaven. And of course, there's Ayurveda and the medicine. So it's a vast tree of knowledge. But the ripened fruit of the whole thing is the Srimad Bhagavatam, which teaches wholly and solely the science of bhakti, of devotional service. Because what's the point if you become a great doctor or you're able to keep good health for 100 years? If then you die, you got to die, and then you get another birth, and you don't know where you're going. In other words, whatever you can experience that's relative in this world is ultimately self-defeating. To become attracted to some goal of life that's not bhakti, it's not going back home, back to Godhead, is to really be bewildered by Maya Devi, whose trick is to con you into thinking that there's such important things to do in this world that have nothing to do with Krishna or with your soul or with your eternal life. But actually, that's the most important subject, no matter what's going on, is what our state of consciousness is and how we're preparing to go back to Godhead, to achieve pure devotional service. Now, this idea, it came to mind while we were reading that section. Prabhupada has another swipe at the Mayavadis, right? And where is that? Oh, well, he talks about different kinds of yoga, right? Karma yoga, Jnana yoga, Ashtanga yoga. Any of these others, you may make a little progress, but really it doesn't. It's not going to, suffice. You have to come to the point of bhakti yoga. It's often called like the Bhagavad Gita is like a ladder, yoga ladder. You may remember back in chapter 3, it was all about karma yoga, about the need to perform sacrifice. Why? Because we're bound up by our karma. And the real problem we have is that our karma, when we're engendering new karma in this lifetime, we have the old, that's going to bring us back. So we have to get free of karma bandhana, the bondage that's caused by fruitive activity, good or bad. It's not going to help you to go to the heavenly planet. You're still going to be bound up in the material world, eventually come back here. So it's illusory. You see what I'm saying? So the way to do that is to make every activity that you do an act of sacrifice. You're sacrificing your own interests for the interests of the Lord. So we have this very important verse, Yagyartat karmanon yatra loko yam karma bandhana. It basically says everything you do should be done as a sacrifice for Vishnu. Otherwise, that activity will bind you to this world. So this is the impetus now, is to break free, you see? Now, but if you've been around a while, you know that Lord Chaitanya says that shouldn't be our motive, right? Nadanang, najanang, nasundadim, kapitang, vajagadisha kamaye, mama janmani shude bhavatad bhakti dohoitikitvaye. Here's what I don't want, my Lord. I don't want wealth. I don't want followers. I don't want a beautiful spouse. I don't want kavitam. Kavitam means different things. It can mean great erudition, and all that. Or Jagadisha. Now it's interesting, this is a name for God that's kind of an official name. It's not an intimate name of Krishna. No, it's Jagadish, the Lord of the universe. Next verse, he comes to that. But here he's just praying to God. I don't, and birth after birth. Now, when he says birth after birth, he means I don't want liberation either. You know that? What does he want? Ahoitaki bhakti. Ahoitaki bhakti means devotional service executed without any kind of material motivation, and simply for the sake of expressing your love for Krishna, of pleasing the Lord. That's what I want. Now that's very radical. Who's the Lord? Who is this Lord? I can't see him. You know what I mean? In other words, you have to transform the natural, egotistical motivation that we all have into a motivation to please Krishna, who I don't see. Where is he? And so that's why we need ways of contacting him. And he's provided them. The holy name, the deities, prasadam, the devotees, the paintings. Prabhupada was so eager to have these paintings come. When he would look at the paintings, he would actually see the experience there. There's a pastime where he's on a flight, and probably from Dallas, where all the kids were at one point, in the school. So he's on this flight, and Hari Saurya, one of his servants who flew with him, tells the story. And he's chanting his rounds on the flight. And he's got pasted up, on this back of the seat in front of him, a little picture that a kid drew. The cute pictures of the kid of Krishna playing the flute or Radha or something, And he's meditating on that picture, which was drawn with affection given to Prabhupada. There's bhakti in there, And he's seeing the experience. What to speak of, these wonderful paintings he would see. So this is a way. This is the great advantage of the devotees. If you have faith, Krishna's in his name, Krishna's in his deity. He's in the kirtan and all these experiences, and you actually feel enlivened and you feel the presence of the Lord. So it becomes very real, and then you can feel the even this a little taste of what it means to have the pure bhakti, where you do something that's over and above, beyond the call of duty, like say. Often Rath Yatra festivals would come up, and everyone would have to work really hard. Any festival, major festival, right? And from morning till night, all I worked, I kind of hardly had time for prasadam, But there's a certain ecstasy that comes, I just, I'm exhausted, but I did it all for Krishna, And then, the next time you chant Hare Krishna, there's more taste. Krishna gives, that's the gift that Krishna gives for your sincerity. Is more taste for everything having to do with Krishna. You appreciate the devotees, you appreciate the deities, the holy name, the whole experience. That's the sign. But you should keep it going. You stay. The great devotees, they stay on that platform, constantly sacrificing. Just contemplate Prabhupada's life. He he gets up at 12 at night and dictates. And then he meets with the devotees. And, he writes the letters, he's traveling here, doing this program, getting on a plane, going all over the world. All simply to give us a chance to practice pure devotional service. So that's, that's way beyond the third chapter. Now the fourth chapter you find, there's the Jnana Yoga. One should understand while one is sacrificing, while one is acting, that you're not the body. In other words, this is you're using your intellect to try to stay on the transcendental platform, through gyan, through knowledge. And it's meant to mature into vigyan, or realized knowledge. And then we get the Ashtanga Yoga, the sixth chapter. It's, fourth and fifth. Fourth also has to do with a lot of sacrifices. Fifth has to do with Brahma Nirvana, attaining Brahma. You'll find that phrase in there several times in the attaining this Brahman platform, complete detachment. How does the realized soul? He's doing so many things, but he realizes he's not doing anything. He's just watching the body work. I'm detached. This is a kind of a platform, being transcendental. And it ends with the peace formula. Such an important verse. Bhoktaram Gita pasang sarva loka maheshana. One who recognizes that I, says Krishna, I'm the enjoyer of all sacrifices, the master of all worlds, the most well-wishing friend in the heart of all, Suridam Sarvabhutanam. Such a person who's fixed in that understanding attains real peace. Prabhupada calls this the peace formula. Gyatva Shantam Richati, one who understands this. And then the sixth chapter, which is like serious, Ashtanga Yoga. Go to the forest, all these. And there's a beautiful section in there where he's describing samadhi, and it's really, there's bhakti in there, because Krishna says the real object of this meditation is me, and one will experience the highest happiness experience through transcendental senses. Once you experience this, you'll know there's no greater experience, and even under the greatest difficulty, you'll be fixed. There's a wonderful description. But Arjuna says, I don't think I can do it. It's too hard. It's like trying to control the wind, trying to control this mad mind. So after the all of this, and Arjuna says, yes, you can do it. If you fail, you'll get born in an okay family. You'll go on. But then he says, don't worry. Yogi nama visarvesham mudgatena antaratma. The best yogi is one who's always thinking of me within the heart. So we're actually working up to this ninth chapter. That was the sixth chapter. The seventh chapter is very practical. You can just see Krishna in everything. In the working of the material energy, And the eighth chapter, there's these essential 3 verses. Whatever one who cultivates Krishna consciousness, he thinks of me at the time of death, will come to me. Whatever you think of at the time of death, so be careful what you think of during life. That'll be determined. Therefore, do your work. For Arjuna is fighting. Tasmat sarveshu kalishu mamanusmara yudhyacha. You always think of me and fight. We can plug in our own life, whatever we have to do. We have to. So it's leading up to this ninth chapter. The ninth chapter consolidates all of the Krishna conscious teachings, and it's really very important. So he's giving us a taste here. Rajavidya Rajaguru. It's worth going over this verse and purport again on your own and seeing some of the wonders of it. Okay, any discussion on this? We've spent some days on it. Yes, Christian. Go ahead. We went through a lot of topics. Here, use the mic.
So you said Prabhupada was seeing the experience?
I'm sorry?
Srila Prabhupada was seeing the experience, when seeing the experience in the
paintings, yes.
Was he seeing the experience of the pastime or the person doing the bhakti, like drawing it?
The pastime.
Okay.
Yeah, he called them windows on the spiritual world.
Okay.
That is famously, there's a window on the spiritual world. In other words, he's seeing there that there's Ram, there's Sita, there's Lakshman, and experiencing the whole mood in the forest. It's wonderful. You can imagine. To be able to just look at the painting and enter into the painting and the mood of it. It's something to be cultivated. Okay, so now, as often is the case, now we get a little splash of cold water. What's going to happen if you don't have faith in this knowledge? And that's the text number 3. Ashradhana purusha dharmasyasya parantapa aprapyamam navartante mrityu sangsara vartmani. Those who are not faithful in this devotional service cannot attain me, O conqueror of enemies. Therefore they return to the path of birth and death in this material world. Purport. The faithless, the word is ashradhana. Shraddha is faith, ashradha is just the opposite. The faithless cannot accomplish this process of devotional service. That is the purport of this verse. Faith is created by association with devotees. Unfortunate people, even after hearing all the evidence of the Vedic literature from great personalities, still have no faith in God. They are hesitant and cannot stay fixed in the devotional service of the Lord. Thus, faith is a most important factor for progress in Krishna consciousness. In the Chaitanya Charitamrita, it is said that faith is the complete conviction that simply by serving the Supreme Lord Sri Krishna, one can achieve all perfection. That is called real faith. As stated in Srimad Bhagavatam 4.31.14, I'll say, you say, Yatataro mula nishechanena tripyanti tatskandha bhujopashaka pranopaharachayatindriyanam tataiva sarvarhanamatyuteja. By giving water to the root of a tree, one satisfies its branches, twigs, and leaves, and by supplying food to the stomach, one satisfies all the senses of the body. Similarly, by engaging in the transcendental service of the Supreme Lord, one automatically satisfies all the demigods and all other living entities. Therefore, after reading the Bhagavad Gita, one should promptly come to the conclusion of the Bhagavad Gita. One should give up all other engagements and adopt the service of the Supreme Lord Krishna, the personality of Godhead. If one is convinced of this philosophy of life, that is faith. Now, the development of that faith is the process of Krishna consciousness. There are 3 divisions of Krishna conscious men. In the 3rd class are those who have no faith. Even if they are officially engaged in devotional service, they cannot achieve the highest perfectional stage. Most probably, they will slip after some time. They may become engaged, but because they haven't complete conviction and faith, it is very difficult for them to continue in Krishna consciousness. We have practical experience in discharging our missionary activity that some people come and apply themselves to Krishna consciousness with some hidden motive, and as soon as they are economically a little well situated, they give up this process and take to their old ways again. It is only by faith that one can advance in Krishna consciousness. As far as the development of faith is concerned, one who is well versed in the literatures of devotional service and has attained the stage of firm faith is called a first-class person in Krishna consciousness. And in the second class are those who are not very advanced in understanding the devotional scriptures, but who automatically have firm faith that Krishna bhakti, or service to Krishna, is the best course, and so in good faith have taken it up. Thus they are superior to the 3rd class, who have neither perfect knowledge of the scriptures nor good faith, but by association and simplicity are trying to follow. The 3rd class person in Krishna consciousness may fall down, but when one is in the 2nd class, he does not fall down, and for the 1st class person in Krishna consciousness, there is no chance of falling down. One in the 1st class will surely make progress and achieve the result at the end. As far as the 3rd class person in Krishna consciousness is concerned, although he has faith in the conviction that devotional service to Krishna is very good, He has not yet gained adequate knowledge of Krishna through the scriptures like Srimad Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita. Sometimes these third-class persons in Krishna consciousness have some tendency toward karma yoga and jnana yoga, and sometimes they are disturbed. But as soon as the infection of karma yoga or jnana yoga is vanquished, they become second-class or first-class persons in Krishna consciousness. Faith in Krishna is also divided into 3 stages and described in Srimad Bhagavatam. First-class attachment, second-class attachment, and third-class attachment are also explained in Srimad Bhagavatam in the 11th canto. Those who have no faith, even after hearing about Krishna and the excellence of devotional service, who think that is simply eulogy, find the path very difficult, even if they are supposedly engaged in devotional service. For them there is very little hope of gaining perfection. Thus faith is very important in the discharge of devotional service. So, as Prabhupada mentions in this purport, association is so important for developing the faith. It's just like anything, really. You know, you meet somebody who's gone to a foreign country or had some experience, been to, like, when hiking up the Appalachian Trail or something. And because they're your friend, because you know them, you trust what they say, and they're just eulogizing, this wonderful experience, you should really try it, like that. And so that's entering your heart and say, yeah, I'd like to go. Maybe we can go together, So the faith is planted by someone who you trust. And the experience is something that you can relate to and it maybe interests you to do. So that's, even on the material world, it works like that. Now, Krishna consciousness is, of course, super auspicious, and getting the faith is not so easy because it's hard to find someone who's actually experienced, who can say, yes, I've seen Krishna, right? That's why I've said back in the 4th chapter that accepting a spiritual master who can really illuminate all these things, it has to be a tattvadarshi, someone who's seen the truth, someone who's actually seen the truth. Now Prabhupada, when he came to America, it was, he didn't immediately find people who were that receptive, He it took a while, it took him about a year really in New York City before he really got going, and he had a receptive crew who in turn could become enlivened in devotional service. They knew a little bit of philosophy, but they were enthusiastic and they were having some realizations, and they could in turn impart that faith in others. And the faith really begins, to bear fruit when someone has enough faith to chant Hare Krishna. Because the process is so powerful, the name is so real and powerful, that immediately there'll be some realization. If you're chanting with a little concentration, a little bit of abandon, if you don't have a big barrier, Sometimes I see, I've been here so long, you see people come into the temple, maybe the Sunday feast or during the week, and the kirtan's going on, and they have that mudra. Mudras are very important, This means I'm not letting it get into me, There's a barrier there. Whereas, this is like, enlighten me, right? Come down. So everyone has a different level of receptivity depending on where they're at, the experience they've had, and their modes of nature. That's why, you've been around a while, you say, yes, someone who's, a vegetarian is a better candidate for getting more interest in Krishna consciousness. And that's right in the book. It's mentioned, Nivita Tarshai Rupagiyamana Bhavaushadatt Chota Mano Viraman Koutta Mashloka Gunanavarat Puman Varajeta Vina Pashugnat. I remember Padmavati. I don't think anyone is here who remembers her. You know. We shared kind of an old Jewish background, and she heard this word Pashugnat, and it sounded like Mashugana. Did you ever hear the word Mashugana? That's a Yiddish word. It means someone who's kind of, lazy, unqualified, like that. So the lazy and the unqualified, and Pashugnat means the meat eaters. Pashu means animal, Gna means to kill. So the meat eaters, it's harder for them to be receptive because of the modes of nature and the sinful activities, And but it also means one who's killing his own soul. You can't kill the own soul, but you can kill your spiritual life by embracing false philosophies and becoming immune to Krishna consciousness. You know what I mean? There's too many blockages. So what does this verse say? This is a verse spoken by Parikshit Maharaj at the beginning of the 10th canto. I think it's like the second or third verse in the whole 10th canto. And he's, been working up to this point where he's going to hear Krishna's, intimate Leela now. And if you read the 9th canto, it kind of works up to it. He's describing the genealogy of Krishna. It comes down to, and then Krishna and Balaram took birth in the Yadu dynasty. And this beautiful verse about Krishna's face. Yasyanana makadakunda lacharakarna brajat kapoda subhagang savalasahasam nityotsavam tatabudishabi babanto nayo narasta mudita kupita namescha. It's describing how the residents of Vrindavan see the face of Krishna. Which is, it's a beautiful nectar verse right there at the end of the 9th canto, getting you ready for the 10th canto. So what does this verse say? Yasyananam, his face. Ananam is the face. Makada Kundala Charukarna. Makada Kundala are those shark-shaped earrings, very beautiful, golden with jewels and hanging and reflecting on his cheeks. Charukarna, nicely hanging from his ears, beautifying his ears. Brajat Kapola Subhagam. And his cheeks are shining, reflecting the jewel ornaments, Subhagang Sivalasahasam, and with a very playful smile. Nityotsavam. It's a memorable word. This is an eternal festival for the of joy for the residents of Vrindavan. Nityotsavam natotabur. They're never satiated. Well, seeing that face, they're always longing. When is he coming back from the forest? When I can see this beautiful face of Krishna. Natotabur jushabi babanjo. They're drinking in the beauty. Nayo, not just the ladies, but the men too. Everyone's drinking in the beauty of that face of Krishna. And they curse Brahma for creating the eyelids. Which you have to blink and we're interrupted. We're seeing Krishna and you're giving us a split second of no Krishna. You fool. What are you? Yeah, they actually berating Brahma, the engineer of the body. Made a mistake. Anyway, that leads up to the 10th canto, almost a couple of verses later. And Parikshit Maharaj, he's encouraging Shukadeva, oh, now please, I'm ready for it. You can imagine, he's been sitting there maybe 8 days, or maybe 5 days. Not sleeping, not eating, not drinking, just hearing. And now, in that state, he's being sustained by the sound vibration. Now he's ready to hear this 10th canto. So what does he say? Nivritta tarshaya. When these vibrations are spoken by those who are completely free of material desire, the pure devotees, upagiyamanad, sung. This sound vibration, description of Krishna, the holy name, it acts as a bhavaushadhi, as a remedy for birth and death. It cures, in other words, it gives you liberation, just by hearing, and so much more. And it's very pleasing to the ear and the heart. Shrota mano abhiramat. It's pleasing the mind and the heart and the ear. Who would give it up? Ka uttama shloka gunanavarat. Uttama shloka is the name for Krishna. Means he who's the glorified in the most beautiful shlokas. Gunanavarat means description of his qualities and pastime. Except puman varajeta. What human being would give them up except the pashugnat? Someone who's a meat eater and low person. So that's you can see. The faith. It's not even faith anymore. It's just absolute conviction because you've already experienced so much. But Prabhupada quotes the definition of faith given by Lord Chaitanya in the I think teachings to Sanatan. Shraddha shabde vishwas kohe sudra dhanishchoy Krishna bhakti koli sarva karma krita hoy. There's so many idioms in language, Shabde is in this context it means here's the definition of Shraddha. Shraddha shabde vishwas kohe. Vishwas means a firm conviction. Sudridha, very strong. This joy, you can't be shaken. What? About what? Krishna bhakti koli sarva karma. That just by practicing the principles and activities of bhakti, all my aspirations will be met. I don't have to stop doing the bhakti and do something else. Integrate it into your daily activity. Find a way of keeping body and soul together while at the same time remembering Krishna. That's the key. You know, that's real faith, where you have faith that Krishna will provide, Krishna will protect. You know, this is real surrender. So, but those who don't have faith in this process, aprapyamam, they cannot attain me. They return to this world of birth and death. Mrityu sangsara vartmani. So here is the choice we all have. You know, develop faith in the process through hearing and through practice, and become firmly fixed in devotional service. Or, you know, we're going to go around it again. Mrityu samsara. The samsara prayers. Samsara dava nalalita loka tranaya karanya. Take advantage of the mercy of the spiritual master. Now, I want, before I forget, maybe we can do this as every night. Have a little pronunciation drill, so that we learn to pronounce the word Nityananda, right? Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda. But what is that Nityananda? Everyone says, a lot of people say Nityananda, but it's Nityananda. Now let's analyze. Nitya Ananda means he's always blissful. Yeah, it's not. Sometimes in the song it becomes Nityananda. The tendency is in English to accent the penultimate syllable. Penultimate is the next to last syllable, and that's why we get Rukmini and Rohini. What's wrong with that? You say, that's not the way it's pronounced. The Inis, there's so many Inis. Rukmini, Rohini, Devaki. Devaki we usually get. Or something get Devaki. You know, and Narada Muni. I mean, I've heard of those before. We know that's Narada, right? Narada Muni. So it's good to pronounce it correctly. In the Mangalartik, many of you have been in Mangalartik. I always kind of wince because many of the devotees, especially the last verse. The last verse is the most important verse. Yasya prasadat bhagavat prasado yasya prasadat nagati kutopi. And the tendency is to drop those long A's and they become short. You know, this is so we get yasya prasadat bhagavat prasado yasya prasadat nagati kutopi. I mean, I've heard devotees sing that whether you be a 30, 40, or 50-year devotee, you can make a mistake. So what does it mean? The meaning is the key. You know, the meaning of all this, the Sanskrit and the meaning of the English, and that's what changes our heart. So, what does that mean? Yasya prasadat, by the mercy of the spiritual master, Bhagavat prasada, you get the mercy. Mercy of Krishna, of the Lord, of Bhagavan. Then yasya aprasadan, that A makes all the difference in the world. It means just by the non-mercy or by not getting the mercy. If you don't get the mercy, yasya aprasadan, and you see the sandhi rule. Sandhi is where two words meet. So the end of one word and the beginning of the next word, it changes the pronunciation oftentimes. So when you have yasya and aprasadat, we have to suspend. Okay. Becomes a long A. Yasya prasadat. If you don't say yasya prasadat, then you're saying by the mercy of the spiritual master, one cannot make any advancement. So you can see how absurd that is. So we have to adjourn now, and we'll continue to explore this verse tomorrow. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.